What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more r/am I the butthole. If you're new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe and maybe that notification bell too, as it all really helps out our channel. And don't forget you can follow us on podcast too now, so you can take us with you wherever you go. You can even join the channel through YouTube membership or over on Patreon. And a huge thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time out of your day to watch these videos. As I say, it's truly appreciated. And with that being said, let's get straight in to today's stories. Much love, guys. Our first story comes from First Love Immortal. Am I the arsehole for naming my firstborn son after my late boyfriend and not my husband, even though it's a tradition in his family to name the firstborn son after the father? Let's get this out of the way first. My husband and I are currently separated and we're getting divorced. I'm going to file in a week or two, and we've been living separately since I was 6 months pregnant. Why, you ask? A pretty common occurrence. He was having an affair with a woman and he gave me the "I love you but I'm not in love with you" talk after I caught him. No, he didn't confess. I was suspicious about his late night office hours and tracked him down at his office, only to find him missing. I waited for 3 hours all alone and then I saw them both arriving at the office. She was hanging on to him. They kissed inside his car. That's where I confronted both of them. She was crying and he went to console her, saying it wasn't her fault. That was 4 months ago and I moved out of the house heavily pregnant. I moved to a friend's home he didn't know about, and for the next 4 months I didn't have any contact with him. My choice. I didn't inform him when I went into labour. My sister and best friend were there for me. I gave birth to my healthy baby boy and named him after my childhood sweetheart, Daniel, my first love, who sadly passed away when he was 20 from leukemia. It was the most heartbreaking thing that ever happened to me. It affected me really bad. I lost £40 in a month and had to be hospitalised. I still have a hole in my heart. A part of me was lost forever the day I lost him. It took immense therapy and counselling to cope with the grief. I met my husband 6 years later. He was the first guy I fell for after Daniel. We got married 2 years later, and after 3 years of marriage, we got pregnant with our first child. I wanted to wait a few more years, but it was he who pushed for a baby. My husband's name is Philip, and in his family, the firstborn sons are always named after their father, so we decided to name him Phil. However, after our separation, I started experiencing Daniel's presence around me. I was a mess, but I saw dreams where Dan would talk to me and tell me that everything would be okay. Honestly, I feel like Dan's spirit has helped me heal and gave me strength to cope with the breakdown of my marriage. When my boy was born, I named him Daniel. His middle name was after my grandfather, and I gave him my last name. A month later, I contacted my husband and informed him that his son was born a month ago and that I was going to file for a divorce and to chalk out any visitation if he wanted. I had him blocked everywhere for a month. The same day, I reactivated my Facebook and announced the birth of my son with his full name. My husband called me up crying and furious, and I had no right to name his son after some dead guy I fucked. His family thinks I'm the devil incarnate, and even my mum thinks I went too far. I'm losing my mind here. Am I the asshole? To the people wondering, I'm not going to deny my husband a relationship with his son. We'll come to a custody or visitation plan once we get a court order. For now, he's free to visit his son whenever he wants. The rest would be his choice. To people asking me if it was his choice to go no contact or whether he tried to contact or find me, no, it was his choice and he did try to find me. But he was informed that I was safe and I would reach out to him once I was ready. Why did I stay away from him and didn't tell him about the baby for 1 month? My emotions were a wreck and I didn't want to see him or talk to him. I was incredibly toxic to be around, going through hell mentally, emotionally and physically. I didn't want anything to do with him. I also wanted the first month of my son's life to be a peaceful bonding experience for me and my son. Was it for my mental health? Yes. Was it selfish? Yes. To remind everyone, Daniel isn't just my dead ex, my former boyfriend, my old lover, my ex-boyfriend. His memory is the reason I pushed myself to eat healthy and be alive to survive my pregnancy and give birth to my son. He is my spirit angel looking after me from heaven, and that's why I named my son after him. He was taken from me by fate, and he always will be there looking out for me and my baby. Wow, this one's a pretty deep one. You know, initially I would say like he lost any right to name the baby anything once he cheated on you and was having an affair with someone else and doing that behind your back. You know, that's an absolute scumbag move and he's a complete arsehole for doing so. My only concern, and hear me out here, my only concern with him naming the baby Daniel, like after one of your exes, is that your husband starts to look at his son as like the ex. People don't obviously like to associate names with people they don't like and they start to look at them in different ways and things. That would be my only concern. Whether that's a stupid concern or not, I don't know. But I'm just throwing that one out there. But I think you're absolutely not the arsehole in this situation. So let's go down to the comments below to see what we can find. TMSS16 says, not the arsehole, he cheated and left you while you were pregnant. Of course it's still his son, but giving your baby name to the man that cheated on you while you were carrying his son is asking too much. Daniel is a lovely name and I'm sorry for your loss. Luna Meow says, I feel like the important part a lot of people are missing here is that it's not just the name you agreed on, it's literally the name of the man who was banging his co-worker while you were pregnant with his child. I mean, if you guys agreed to call this kid Bobby or something, then yeah, maybe a little bit of the arsehole for not letting him know, but regardless of what type of dad he turns out to be, while his child was still being carried, he was being an unbelievably shitty father, and I can't believe anyone would think you're the arsehole for not saddling this kid with his cheating dad's name. Not the arsehole so hard. 3 Fluffy says, not the arsehole, if he wanted naming rights, he shouldn't have screwed around on you while you were pregnant. Holy shit. Surely his family also has a tradition of not having affairs while your family is carrying the firstborn son. Now, let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is from Broke Wife. Would I be the arsehole if I got help from a charity despite our joint income being very high? My husband, 38 male, and I, 24 female, have a combined income of $60,000 per year, or thereabouts. He's the big earner at 50k, and I scrape by on a much lower income part-time job. He has always been very protective of his earnings, as he worked very hard for the job he has. Since moving in together, we agreed to mostly keep our own expenses separate. If I buy things for the household like shopping or cleaning bills, etc., we split them in half. If I go to the store, I give him the receipt and he adds up how much of the items are shared and transfers me half. Anything we get for ourselves is paid for out of our own accounts, any personal expenses, etc. He does, however, pay a much higher proportion of the rent. This has worked fine for us. I do the majority of the housework to make up for not contributing as much, and because I have more free time around my job. The issue we have right now is that I'm pregnant. Because of our agreement, I'm expected to pay for anything medical, any bits I need for the duration of the pregnancy, or anything I need post-birth for myself, out of my own money. He'll pay for half of anything directly relating to the baby, but everything else is my responsibility. I'm in a position now where I can't simply cover everything, and any conversation I tried to have has ended up with the same outcome. I knew what the agreement was before we started trying. I genuinely thought that I'd be able to cover a lot more, or that some of the things are more to do with the baby than me, so he would help. But he has very clear definitions of what is for me and what is for the baby. Thanks to insurance, a lot of medical bills are covered, but having to buy a whole new bigger wardrobe and things I didn't originally think of that I need or will need, breast pads, maternity pads for after the birth, etc. are adding up. There is a charity nearby which would help supply some of these things, but I feel absolutely awful turning to them when I know I would make such a small dent in my husband's wage, and he would be perfectly capable of covering it if he was inclined to. I just feel a bit desperate, but I'm completely torn up as to the ethics of it. So, would I be the arsehole for asking for some help from this charity? Edit, please don't message me telling me to get an abortion. Ooh, I don't know who'd do that, but Jesus. Damn, this looks like an abusive relationship. I'm no expert on this, but the way he's treated, like, oh, I can't believe some of the things that's said in this post, like, he won't pay for anything during the pregnancy apart from what's directly linked to the baby. Just the guy does not give a shit about you at all or something. That's the way it feels coming across in this post. It's absolutely disgusting. Surely marriage is meant to be this joint partnership. I understand people sometimes like to keep their finances separate and things like that, but the way this post is in particular, it's absolutely disgusting, and that is abuse of some sort. It's got to be, you know. And we've seen posts like this in the past where I'm just throwing this out here, so I might get shot down as usual, but one of the partners being a lot older than the other one, and then sort of having the power over the younger one. But you know, I'm just throwing it out there as well. The guy's got to be pretty scummy to do something like this, to make you consider having to go to a charity to pay for things you need for a pregnancy that he helped with. I mean, oh man, my mind is blown with this one. So we're going to go straight down to the comments for this one. Unpleasant Stuff says, not the arsehole. The arsehole is your husband. This is financial abuse. Your Credit Score 100 says, hold up, your husband doesn't think he should help pay for the pregnancy. It's not like you just suddenly became pregnant on your own. He contributed just as much into making that child. He's just as responsible, and you need to hold him to that. You have to carry that baby in your body, and your body will handle the consequences, not his. But he still gets the child out of this. Not the arsehole, but your husband should be helping you. Finances seem to be its own problem in your relationship too. Illustrious Complex 6 says, your husband is abusing you financially. It's something that happens often in relationships with large age gaps. Leave home now and go somewhere safe. Shriangul says, holy crap, are you serious? This issue here isn't that you're thinking about going to a charity. The issue is that your current situation necessitates you consider going to a charity. Being pregnant isn't like adopting a puppy. This is flesh and blood. The fact that he's pitching pennies when it comes to the care of his wife who's carrying his child makes him a massive tool. I don't care how much he worked for his job, he's going to be a father, and part of that is taking care of the mother of his child. If he's steadfastly against helping you, by all means go to the charity. Once your immediate needs are met, it's time for some couples therapy. This dude doesn't seem to understand how relationships work. I hesitate to see what kind of father he'll be. Jesus, not the arsehole at all. Edit, don't do couples counselling. I've seen the error of my earlier comment. Leave now. You know, out of a lot of the stories we've read, I think this is one of the ones that's probably shocked me the most. That is absolutely, I can't believe that someone like that won't help out the mother of their child with things they need, like pads and stuff. You know, just anything really. I can't believe that. What do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And our next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for recording my cousin being creepy and showing it to both our parents? My 18 female uncle moved to Germany about 15 years ago. He and my aunt have 7 kids. We don't see them often, but once a year or so they visit us and spend a week or so here. My youngest cousin, 23 male, has always been weird. He always kind of made me uncomfortable, but this year it's gotten worse. I told his dad, who basically told me he's just like that. I told my mum, who told me I'm probably just imagining it. He's been staring at me and called me a milk truck several times. I told him to stop being a creep. He laughed, he hasn't stopped. So with the whole family at the pool, I set my phone to record and left it on my towel and went for a swim. I recorded 15 minutes or so of him and some of his brothers. I listened to it when I got home and well, it was gross. I don't want to go into detail, but he talked about how I'm probably a virgin, what my vagina would look like, and gross stuff he wanted to do to me. His brothers told him to knock it off and stop being gross, so that's something. The next day when everyone came over to dinner, my parents and aunt and uncle were inside cooking. The rest of the family was outside. I played parts of the recording for them. My uncle still didn't think it was a huge deal, but my aunt was disgusted. My parents too. They sent him home a few days early. They've been fighting about it too. Things have been very tense since he left. My mum thinks this was okay, but my dad is upset that I ruined their vacation and that I shouldn't have recorded anyone to be sneaky. Am I the arsehole here? I had no idea how to get him to stop, and he was making me very uncomfortable, but my dad thinks I should have just ignored him. Hell no, I'm someone that always calls people out on this kind of thing, and I think people should be called out, otherwise they don't learn. Fuck all. By them just saying ignore him and all this kind of thing, they're just enabling that kind of behaviour. They're allowing him to get away with it. And him making them comments to his brothers like that, absolutely disgusting. He doesn't care, he's being rude to you in your own house, and yes, he should just be called out for it. Not the arsehole in my opinion, but let's check out the comments below to see what we can find. Moongirl12 says, not the arsehole, it's easier to be mad at you than admit how fucked up your cousin's actions were. Colours of the Currents replies to this saying, this is creepy, it's disgusting, it's rude towards you and it's effing creepy. Now you have pointed it out and it can't come as a surprise if he has called on it from someone else who also deems it creepy. Are you sure dude says, not the arsehole, what is up with your family? You get harassed by a horny arsehole, but the issue is that you have proof. What the fuck, your parents aren't well. OP replies to this saying, my mum is decent, just very, very non-confrontational. Easier to ignore the problem than to admit there is one. B. Kowski says, you're not the arsehole and your father is messed up for not taking things more seriously. Yeah, there's that as well, the father. If I was that girl's father, I'd be furious about that. 3 Fluffies also replies to this saying, not the arsehole, you're defending yourself and documenting his behaviour. Your dad is incredibly wrong and also the arsehole for not defending you. Why does he care more about someone else's vacation than his daughter's safety and right to not be sexually harassed by a freaking cousin? And I'm going to turn it to you guys. What do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from Nocturne909. Would I be the arsehole if I made everyone bring food that I can also eat to my wedding? Alright, I'm getting married in May 2021 to my husband. We're already legally married but haven't had a ceremony due to COVID. We decided that we want a small wedding ceremony in May. It's going to be a potluck style wedding. Everyone brings food and we all enjoy each other's company. I don't want gifts or money, just food. This is the argument that my husband and I are having. I've recently been diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Lots of foods caused me to have a flare up. This results in stomach pains and toilet issues. The biggest offenders are gluten and dairy. I want to ask everyone that brings food to please make it gluten and dairy free. My husband thinks that will make me an arsehole since no one else would have an issue with dairy or gluten, and that's too much to ask of everyone. It would also be rude to ask in his eyes. I don't think so, since it's for one day and it's my wedding after all. I just don't want to worry about being in pain after I eat something. I get that dairy and gluten-free alternatives are more expensive and harder to find, but this is an exchange of bringing no other gift to our wedding. So, would I be the arsehole if I asked everyone to bring food that I can also eat at my wedding? Sorry if I made any grammar or spelling mistakes. Edit. I've read the comments and I appreciate the advice everyone has given me. I take it all into consideration and ask my husband how to best to approach the food situation of our wedding. Thank you. For all those saying that a potluck wedding is cheap and tacky, I respectfully disagree. It's a part of our First Nations heritage and culture. It's how we celebrate every major life event. I don't know how else to celebrate our weddings besides having a potluck. Our families would be so disappointed if they couldn't make and bring something to celebrate our wedding, so please understand that I'm not having a potluck to save money. Potlatch was banned for several years to try and assimilate us. We use potlatch now as a sign of resilience. Also, I should have stated that the wedding wasn't going to be very fancy, it's just going to be a quick traditional ceremony and a backyard barbecue. If someone made burgers, all I ask is that they bring gluten-free buns, etc. or potato salad, could be made with brown rice pasta and lactose-free milk. I didn't mean they have to go that way to make a 4-course meal for all of us. Sorry I didn't clarify that. Now, I understand it's your wedding, it's your special day and it should be about you and everything, but what I always get in this and when people say like, it's my wedding, and the thing that irks me a bit with that sort of statement, the after party sort of thing is a celebration with your guests. By forcing these almost demands on them, is that you're already asking to sort of cater to your wedding, but then making demands on top of that about what type of food it should be. You know, you can't have a potluck wedding and then complain that people are bringing random things and demand that they make certain things. And I'm going to go with the flow here and say you are the arsehole simply because there's a far easier alternative for you to make a few things that you might like to eat on the side, you know, that can be gluten-free and dairy-free, rather than having everyone make these things, because they're not always easy to make, as you said, they can be expensive and they're not for everyone. But as always, I might be completely wrong in those statements. Let's go down to the comments below to see what we can find. Kanji Kando says, you're the arsehole. If you're going to ask people to bring food to a wedding, you can't dictate what it is. You bring food you can eat, or stop being so cheap and pay for a dinner reception where you can dictate the food. Miley30 says, potluck dinner, totally fine. Asking people to make their food dairy and gluten free, it's not only a big ask, but not very realistic. People who don't keep gluten-free kitchens are likely to, unintentionally, cross-contaminate simply because they don't know better. For people who understand their wooden cutting boards or their spatula that wasn't thoroughly cleaned, or even their oven have enough gluten to contaminate their would-be gluten-free cooking, not nearly as simple as just subbing in gluten-free flours. This is less than the issue with dairy, but gluten is one of the hardest things to avoid accidentally, including in most kitchens. Heck, if they baked a regular cake first, there could even be enough flour, gluten, hanging in the air to contaminate the gluten-free food they're trying to make. Although your request is understandable, you're the arsehole. If you want to only serve gluten and dairy-free foods, you should provide the food yourself. Wow, and I learned a couple of things in that post alone. I didn't know like the gluten could be in the air and contaminate the food and stuff afterwards. Wow, it's quite interesting. The Judgy Witch says, and quotes, I want to ask everyone that brings food to please make it gluten and dairy free. And then says, I think that would make you the arsehole. I get it's your wedding, but you can't specify what they bring. Wedding guests deserve to enjoy their meal, and a lot of nice food just isn't gluten free. Why can't you just organise to have food there that you can eat like you do every other day of the year? Cake International says, you're the arsehole. If you want food you can eat, then you can bring your own food, and you can just get your wedding catered. Not everyone has the ability to cook this way, and you're not going to be eating as much as you think at your wedding. Meanie says, you're the arsehole. You're asking people to bring food to your wedding, and you're asking them to make special accommodations for you. I've been to a few weddings and never seen anything like that. If I received an invite to something like that, I would probably skip it, unless it's my best friend's. And even then, I would just grab some crap on the way in. Plus, as someone who doesn't know much about gluten-free diets, I'd probably make a mistake and it'd be a miserable night for you. Hire catering, let them know about your dietary restrictions. Have some food with gluten there as well, and the typical envelope with holiday card and cash from guests that will help you pay for it. Don't become a bridezilla. What do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. Anyway guys, once again, thank you for being here. As always, you're truly appreciated taking the time out your day to watch my videos. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, and I will see you hopefully in the next one. Take care guys, much love.